Do you agree with Le Maire's assessment there then that the geopolitical realities in terms of the relationships between China and the US and therefore Europe as well will not change as a result of President Biden?
I do agree with that statement, but still, there will be a lot of change. There will be a lot of change because the lens through which the American administration will see the world starting January 20th will be one of cooperation and stronger transatlantic ties rather than one of competition, of unilateralism, as we've seen during the past 4 years with considerable damage for things like climate, trade, or other global challenges.
Do you think then the liberal world order, so rattled by Brexit, by President Trump, by the actions of Russia, are we at a turning point then with a Biden presidency?
Well, the deterioration of that liberal world order had started before Trump. Trump, and I would say COVID-19, simply accelerated that deterioration, which we had seen before, and which is due to factors like great power competition, like populist leaders undermining multilateralism, etc. And it will be good to have a Biden administration for sure, but there are limits to that. There are limits because the U.S. will defend its interest, and it's normal that it would do so. It would do so more collaboratively, but it will still do so. And we will still have to try and remedy that lack of international coordination. And that's why the Paris Peace Forum is all about.
Right, and so when you look at the role that international multilateral organisations, and yours is one of them, but there are plenty, of course, what role they can still play. I mean, President Trump has somewhat successfully shone a light on some of the inadequacies of those organisations, whether it's around NATO and funding, or the influence of one country in the WHO, or rows that get stuck for years at the WTO. Do you get a sense that some of these multilateral organisations will struggle to still find relevance? Well, I would dispute the depiction of what Trump has done, because to a large extent he has either fought against these organizations, leaving the Paris Agreement, for example, leaving the WHO, rather than try to change them and try to reinvest American power and inject American substance into them, leaving a large free space for China. And so that was, I think, a lose-lose proposition, weakening the rules of the game and the institutions that serve us well, A, and B, leaving some more space for others. And so my hope is that by injecting American cooperation into the WHO, for example, or into the UN, Biden will be able to make a difference and to make them more effective and more efficient. Both things are necessary. How does the liberal world order, though, deal with the fact that we still have a tension between the US and China, and many people suggest that that will continue to be the case? It'll be difficult for Europe to find its place in that bifurcation of the world. It's true that the world order suffers from that competition, as it had suffered a lot from the Cold War and the USSR competition. Europe has shown that it could assert its voice in some domains, like trade, like regulation, etc. Of course, the danger is one of anesthesia. That is to say that it's much more comfy to be with Biden administration and the Trump administration, which forced Europeans to sort of get back on their heels and increase their strategic autonomy. With Biden, because we will cooperate more, and it's good, of course, there will be less incentive to push on that button of European independence and autonomy. But still, Europe should do that for the sake of the liberal world order, precisely.